of the trampoline fabric created by the bowling ball. As a result, the marble will begin to orbit the bowling ball in the center as a planet orbits a star. Today, quantum physicists speak of gravity as a real particle, a graviton, created by the bowling ball and felt by the marble, slowly drawing the marble closer to the bowling ball. I agree with Einstein's model, as opposed to the graviton model, because of how elegantly it explains changes in the passage of time and the complete lack of quote-unquote gravitational shadows. Even the Bible makes reference to the fabric of space. Countless Bible passages speak of the heavens as a fabric that can be stretched, torn, and folded in on itself. What's been the result of all this quantum confusion? Confusion. From its beginning, quantum mechanics has been a duct-tape science, constantly patching holes rather than starting from a fundamentally sound model of the universe. Today, the quantum physicist claims that one may not even know the true location, state, and speed of a particle. Consequently, they believe that the universe is loaded with random numbers and therefore, like people, you may only know what the particle is likely to do, not what it will do. That's not science, that's superstition. The universe has proven itself to be mathematically perfect so far, and why would the world of the very small be any different? And where are these random numbers coming from anyway? The gods? A computer programmer knows a computer can't actually produce a random number, but instead can produce a series of numbers that appear random. Ancient man may have mistaken the locations of lightning strikes as being random, but the places lightning chooses to strike was never random, a fact we came to discover after we understood the nature of electricity. Ancient man may have mistaken storms and earthquakes as random, and perhaps angry gods, but the meteorologist and geologist knows better. At the latter part of his life, the greater scientific community considered Einstein washed up and obsolete because he simply refused to accept the idea that the universe is in any way random. Stating emphatically, God doesn't play dice. While the rest of the world accepted the universe's mystical nature, Einstein went to his deathbed trying to reconcile the microscopic and macroscopic worlds. In his heart, he knew that the truth of this apparent randomness was out there, and was probably as elegant as E equals mc squared. Maybe Einstein would have done well by considering more than 4 dimensions in his deathbed equations. Perhaps the missing ingredient between apparent chaos and order is the number of spatial dimensions these quantum physicists are taking into consideration. Perhaps the real question is how many angles are there? For the greater part of the age of science, the number of dimensions was thought to be 4. The first, x, representing width. The second was y, representing height. The third was z, representing depth. And the fourth was t, representing time. Initially, it was thought that every object in the universe experienced time equally, but later it was discovered that time was just another direction of motion, which meant that tomorrow and yesterday are no different than left, right, up, and down. With time being just another direction to move in, and with every object in the universe moving in different speeds and directions, naturally, every object in the universe was experiencing time differently. For example, imagine 2 twins born on the same day. One twin is launched off the planet in a spaceship, and the other twin is kept here on Earth. Let's say that after accelerating for 1 month, the spaceship is moving away from the Earth at 99.9% the speed of light, which is 670 million miles per hour. It then slows down, turns around, and begins to trip back to Earth, eventually accelerating to the same speed. Upon returning to Earth 2 months after leaving, the twin exits the spacecraft to find that everything on the planet has aged 5 years. The twin who stayed on Earth is indeed 5 years older, and to him his brother was in space for 5 years. There's 5 years of new celebrities, 5 years of new geopolitical developments, and 5 years of new inventions and technologies. Not only can the twins debate over how long the trip lasted, 2 months or 5 years, but they can also debate over the total distance traveled. The twin who went on the trip, the stars, actually he never made it to one, will claim to have traveled a distance that is considerably less than the people on Earth said he traveled. The effect, that becomes quite measurable when considering things that are moving at high speeds, is called time dilation. This means that if you were to ask every subatomic particle in the universe how old the universe is, each would produce a slightly different answer, and none are lying. To better understand dimensions, one must only envision the relationship between a boat and a submarine. The boat lives in a two-dimensional world, and its only choices are north, south, east, and west. South is only the opposite of north, and east is only the opposite of west. So in reality, a boat has only two angles of freedom. What's more is that other boats may not share the same space with each other. A submarine, on the other hand, exists in a three-dimensional world. Like the boat, it can move north, south, east, and west, but unlike the boat, it can also move up and down. The air above is also a three-dimensional space. A human, not being able to fly, has access to two dimensions and can only walk along the surface of the earth. A large wall, a river, or tall cliffs can spell the end of a journey on foot. But a bird has access to another dimension, up and down. It would not be impeded by a wall, or river, or cliff. Having access to another dimension, these terrain obstacles present no difficulty. Occultists often refer to the universe in terms of layers, or dimensions, often called worlds or spheres. Similar to those who live in high-rise buildings, we too live with beings who exist above and below us. And like those high-rise dwellers, we too are both separated and yet affected by the comings and goings of our neighbors. The number of layers contained in the universe differs from one occult tradition to another, but in modern Western magic, it is typically the Hebrew Kabbalah and the dividing lines that it defines, which are most relied upon. The Kabbalah is a series of ancient Jewish texts that define the nature of reality, the number of universes, and the rulers of those universes. In the Kabbalah, the universe is divided into 10 parts, each called Sephirah, and these 10 Sephirah are further divided into 4 worlds and constitute separate universes, each containing its own ruler and inhabitants. The 4 worlds in which the 10 Sephirah are divided into are Atziluth, the divine world of archetypal ideas; Braya, the creative world of the archangels; Yetzirah, the astral world of angels and demons; Asaya, the material world. In the Kabbalah, and occult in general, the universe is seen as a series of layers where energy, originating from the top, cascades downwards, becoming increasingly solid. Each layer represents a slightly more solid reflection of the contents of the layers above. Since this energy is constantly flowing down through the worlds, any alteration occurring above will trickle down to the lower levels. It's curious that modern-day scientists, the self-proclaimed string theorists, are coming to the exact same conclusion as the ancient Kabbalah did, a 10-dimensional universe. Another system which is equally common, and probably more friendly to the human mind, is the breaking up of the universe into 5 layers. The first layer, spirit, represents the mind of God and is composed of pure energy. The layer below, the mental universe, represents a series of concepts and identities. Objects in the mental world do not respect time and space, but instead represent timeless identities, and one of these identities is the entity you call you, or your soul. The mental world is no more than a collection of concepts and thoughts. Things like rocks and trees do not exist on the mental plane. Only the idea or concepts of a rock and the concept of a tree. The third world, and perhaps most crucial to the magician, is the astral world. The astral world, unlike the mental world, is subject to a sense of space and time. The fourth of the worlds